Hi, I'm Cara Louise. I'm the author of a number of children's books, including The Guardian and the Goddess, Biffy and the Barrow, and Standing Stone. So I'm here today to talk about how we can help a child who's struggling to read. First of all, find something that the child is really interested in. If you feel that they're spending too much time out on the football pitch, then try and engage their interest in football. You can get them to read the annual from their favourite club. You could get them to read a book about their favourite player, football magazine. It really doesn't matter, and if you've got something that they're really interested in, they're far more likely to stay with it and carry on reading. Number two, don't worry about what they're actually reading. It doesn't really matter. When I was a kid, I used to sit behind the cornflakes packet at the breakfast table, and I would read every single thing on that cornflakes packet. For example, I've got a cup of soup here, and there's loads and loads of things that you can read on this. Anything like this technically is classed as a literary text. You've got a list of allergies, you've got a list of ingredients, you've got instructions. It tells you the calories, the fat, the sugar in it. It tells you the make, and it also tells you about any special offers. So it's all increasing a child's vocabulary. Also, try and find exciting, unusual stories which are really going to engage their interest. Short books are something which I'm really in favour of. A lot of children just feel daunted by the prospect of reading an entire novel. But if you've got a nice short book that's divided up into short chapters, then they can just spend 5 or 10 minutes a day on that book, and that's something which is sustainable. It's not something that they're just going to think, oh, it's just too much, I can't be bothered with it. Try and also find books that have got cliffhanger endings by authors that really understand the importance of cliffhangers at the end of each chapter. What you want is for your child to read a few pages, get to the end of the chapter and think, oh, I can't wait to know what happens next. And if there's a cliffhanger ending on it, preferably at the end of every single chapter, they're going to turn over the page, get to the end of the chapter, and then want to turn over the next page to find out what's happened. Also, the power of repetition can't be overestimated. So a lot of parents say that they're worried because their child keeps reading the same thing over and over again. Now, I'm a linguist and I study a lot on YouTube about what polyglots are doing. That's people that speak a lot of languages. And everything that everybody agrees on is that in order to learn a new language, you need to read or you need to listen to the same thing over and over and over again. Now, that's going to be really difficult if it is just something really boring, because anybody will listen to it or read it 2 or 3 times and then they've had enough. But if it's something that you're really interested in, then you don't mind listening to it over and over and over again. And a lot of children do that. They have a favourite book. They just love it. They identify with the characters. They love the story. When I was a kid, the idea that you would read a book once, that was incomprehensible to me. When I discovered that most people only read a book once, I just couldn't believe it, because my books were just dog-eared, torn and tattered, because I read every single one so many times. So don't worry if they're reading the same book. That's going to go into their head, and that will reinforce all the vocabulary, all the structures, and it will help engender a love of reading. Another thing, if your child is a boy, then look for books that have got a male character, and the same thing with a girl. So that will encourage them to identify with the main character and help them get absorbed more in the book. Also, you want books with not too many characters. It can be very confusing. And you also want to avoid books with characters who have very similar names. If you open the book and you find that all the characters' names are beginning with A, that's actually really confusing for a child. So try and make sure all the characters have got completely different names that begin with different letters of the alphabet. Also, not too many characters. If you've got a book that contains about 4 or 5 main characters, then it means that they don't particularly identify with any of them. You do really want a book that's got 1 or 2 characters that are the central character that the child can just completely identify with and get absorbed in their story and want to know what happens to them. Finally, don't stress. If you start stressing about how little your child's reading, then that stress is going to transfer itself to the child. It's like swimming. If your child's learning to swim and you're sitting there getting really, really anxious, worrying about the child and what might happen to it, that's going to transfer itself to the child. So just don't stress. Try and provide a comfortable environment for the child, whether it's on their bed, whether it's a bean bag, just a comfortable corner of the sofa, a quiet bit of floor on their bedroom, just somewhere where it's quiet, where it's comfortable, no distractions, no phones ringing, preferably where there's no computer to distract them, just somewhere where they can sit in quiet and enjoy the story. So that's all for now. If you want to know any more about my books, and I always try and provide short books for parents who want them, short chapters, again with cliffhanger endings, you can go to amazon.com, look up Cara Louise, and the title of the book, for example, Biffy and the Barrow, The Demon's Secret, Canis Major Mystery. And I'll be back again shortly to talk more about how we can get our kids to read. Bye.